It's all chili all the time. Yes, kids, it's our first ever Chili de Castro issue. We take an extended look at the blunders he is making as he seeks $150,000 to fund his ill-fated Constitution headquarters board game. Will the game ever come out? Will his future investors make their money back? What can he do to save the project? We give our thoughts. Plus, De Castro flounders to take in money for his ill-fated lawsuit against sitting judges in Nevada. He says he needs $5,000 or $6,000 in donations to his GoFundMe to switch to Westlaw AI and really show those jackboot thug whatevers his prowess as a constitutional law scholar. How can Clash with Bao take in money so easily when De Castro is struggling to meet his goals? And what happened to his Monday night streams? Stutter, shudder, and a waste of time? Say it isn't so. I am your humble newsreader, Pants, and my stream is solid and strong. You're a subtly nubile, California-based internet user who is being thirsted by their existing internet provider. Switch over to #PantsNet Mind Blown and let's experience some auditing insanity. The empire of Jose Chili de Castro is in a precarious position a day before the Memorial Day holiday in the United States, as he's seeking $150,000 in financing to fund the production of the first 10,000 copies of his Constitution headquarters board game. De Castro claims that he came up with the idea for the game while he was jailed in the Clark County, Nevada Correctional Facility last year, serving a since overturned conviction for obstructing an officer and interfering with a traffic stop. After his release, he spoke extensively about his assembly of a prototype for the game, using wadded-up bits of toilet paper on a board made from sheets of paper he was able to take in with him as he was imprisoned in the segregated room known as the Hole. His story has changed a bit over the years since his release, but the idea remained the same. He intended to teach the United States Constitution and Bill of Rights to the masses. His version of history, originally intended to teach inmates who were locked in jail or prison systems in perpetuity, became a historical game aimed at families. As it evolved over the past year, so did the requirements he says are needed to truly play the game. He built a gigantic wall of history, combining elements of his history of the prison system and history of lynchings in America with his new focus on the history of the Constitution on one of the longer walls in the furniture store space that he's converted into a studio in Los Angeles. His wall being key to his teachings, with hundreds of hours of teaching he personally planned to deliver to support the game. The form of the game has also changed over time. Once billed as a traditional board game, in its latest iteration, it has become a card-based game comparable with the original Trivial Pursuit board game from the late 1980s. DeCastro displayed packets of cards on a late-week live stream last week. The art on the cards was AI generated by one of his fans, while the cards themselves were put together digitally by a person in Indonesia. Previously, DeCastro decided to display all of the cards he had digitally for a fact check and error correcting session on a live stream. With the very first card having an error, he quickly became deflated, as there were significant errors on every card he displayed, ultimately giving up on the session as it was not the proper venue to move forward. He would later admit that the first print of the cards would have errors, and he would personally replace the cards with errors for free, as his fans identified them. Last week, with printed cards in packages in front of him, he marveled at the fact that all of the prototype cards had been printed, and he'd soon be assembling the game for the first time. The first time. Traditional board games take years, if not decades, to make it to big box stores. Millions of dollars are spent coming up with new concepts for games, let alone for new variations of existing games. What would be considered minor changes to games are play-tested, focus grouped, and millions are put into determining if the change is viable, based on the impact the move would have on the existing fan base and how many new fans it would mean to bring in. Games themselves are likewise, as a whole, play-tested, test-marketed, had market studies done, and are put through the ringer on costs and overheads. Everything is done, even with an independent board game manufacturer, to make sure that the game itself is marketable, and that the production of the game would not bankrupt the company before the game was on the shelf. Big box stores plan their entire schematic of what toys and games they're carrying well in advance, changing out the toy aisles 4 times a year with new product lineups. To make it into a big box store for a Christmas 2025 launch, DeCastro would have had to have his game assembled and brought a proven track record with him simply for consideration. Even a Christmas 2026 launch may be too late to think about at this point, as he's still in the process of prototyping his game. He says that he determined the $49.99 price point, as he's using for pre-sales of the game, by going to a big box store and looking at prices of games he considered to be similar to his product. On his last live stream, he repeated his claim that his print shop would not print the first run of the game unless he ordered 10,000 copies of his cards. He also announced that he was seeking $100,000 in financing for his game. Selling the game on his own, that would mean the base price of $62 taken in from a single sale, $50 for the game and $12 for shipping, means that $27 is gone per unit just for the cards, presumably the board with it and shipping. The $35 left from that sale, in a vacuum with no other costs, would mean $350,000 in pie-in-the-sky figures if every game sold, and just enough to pay his financier back with interest and to fund a second run of the game. But we know the world doesn't work like that. If the board game pieces aren't manufactured by the same print shop as part of his initial $150,000 investment, more money must be raised to manufacture them. Then there's packaging, storage, assembly, replacing and shipping the numerous cards with errors, taxes, paying his workers, paying himself a basic salary, replacing the art on the game for trademarking purposes. You can't trademark AI-generated art. Paying for future print runs and the cost of paying that $150,000 investment back, and there's not enough left at the current price point to make his board game dreams come true. There are reasons why most games are printed overseas. China and other countries have thousands of businesses that are set up to produce games and game pieces cheaply. DeCastro could significantly cut costs by printing outside of the United States most of the time. Finally, there's financing. Jose Chili DeCastro is 50 years old, and his legacy consists of several thousand unwanted Fifth Amendment cop cards and trifold products. While once semi-popular to the conspiracy kids on TikTok, DeCastro often gives away more of the product than he sells. He devalues each actual sale to the point where he's essentially losing money on every sale. Despite his claims of living in New York City as a high-level executive for a decade, he's yet to show that he can successfully market anything, let alone to the point where anyone can trust him with a $150,000 investment in a product that was designed to fail. He has no assets to seize when the product fails, as he owns no property other than a self-driving van and his dog Charlie. While he may someday come into go-away money from all the lawsuits he's currently filing, he's proven time after time that he's not good at suing people, and that the millions of dollars he's suing for more likely isn't coming anytime soon. It doesn't seem like he has a current business plan. He certainly doesn't have a plan for making an actual profit off the Constitution headquarters product. Anyone financing his $150,000 loan must go into the deal knowing they're not going to see a return on the money, and more than likely will not get their money back. He'd probably be better off going through Kickstarter to raise the funds for the game, though Kickstarter requires a working prototype for campaigns. He's almost to that point. He says he has the prototype cards printed and can get a board made to satisfy the requirements. While going a Kickstarter route may add a year or two to his overall production, there's not a lot of risk for his investors, and he can get his fans involved in the process. Plus, maybe through Kickstarter, he can convince Americans that they want to gather around the kitchen table to play a game that is inspired by Trivial Pursuit, featuring the Constitution, written by AI and produced by a man who has no visible track record of success. At this point, though, he has a mess on his hands that won't be solved by suing Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman, YouTuber Dale Lackluster Hiller, YouTubers Kate Peter and Blue Bacon again, or the state of Nevada. He needs to hunker down, focus on the product, and find a way out of the hole he's dug. Can he do it? Maybe. Will he do it? Get your trifolds here. 5 given away for every single trifold purchased. I'll give you my whole product line digitally when you sign up for my website. Sunday was a massively important day for Jose Chili DeCastro, as he stood in front of his audience for nearly 7 hours in a live stream where he literally begged for the thousands of dollars needed to fund his latest lawsuit, and walked away with a total of $353 donated to his GoFundMe. DeCastro made the claim that he was poor, broke, possibly destitute, that he couldn't afford to properly sue former Justice of the Peace Hans Zimmerman and others, because AI would soon be outlawed for use in legal cases. Only a yearly subscription to the Westlaw AI could save him, because it would never be outlawed. It cost $4,000 a year, he said, and as a poor YouTuber with 646,000 subscribers and 2,060 people tuning into his live stream for one moment of the vertically formatted stream that has had 285,399 views in the 9 hours it's been live, he simply couldn't afford that. Strangely, going from success to failure as moments pass, DeCastro was unsure if he was a poor boy who nobody loved, who needed your help to fight this monstrosity, or the cold-blooded killer who brought thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening, to those he conquered in the past. Barely a mention was made about his threatened and soon-to-be-filed, maybe, lawsuit against Dale Lackluster Hiller, his constitutional headquarters board game, or his never-ending lawsuit against Kate Peter, Team Skeptic, Daniel Clement, and Michael Blue Bacon Peratini, which very well may end this week. His focus for the night was how the dirty, no-good, rotten, stinking, unscrupulous, uneducated, horrible justice of the peace, Ann Zimmerman, and the jackboot thug pigs who jailed him twice in Las Vegas, and how you needed to give him $5,000 to $6,000 to sue them and make up to $69 million off of the abuse he suffered at their hands. The weekend started slowly for DeCastro, with Friday's take of $0 not surprising anyone. He didn't go live, so he didn't have the opportunity to pitch his campaign to his fans. Sean Paul Long Island Audit Reyes took the day with a $5 donation to his Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption GoFundMe campaign. Saturday fared better for the diminutive YouTuber. With no YouTube livestream to speak of, he pulled in $547 in donations to his GoFundMe campaign to take the crowdsourcing title for the day, with Clash with Bow placing second with a $110 take, and DeCastro's own Craig Hendry GoFundMe taking in a massive $10 for the day. Sunday rounded out the 3-day period with DeCastro stumbling backwards. His nearly 7-hour live stream only took in $353 in donations towards his campaign. To give him the win for the day, Sean Paul Reyes again placed second with a $25 donation to his Support the Fight Against Tyranny campaign. All in all, he's made $1,200 out of his $5,000 or $6,000 or whatever goal he's going to settle on, if you only count the money going towards GoFundMe campaigns. He's made hundreds more from PayPal and Cash App donations and YouTube Super Chats during his live streams, though none of that money seemed to be factored into the totals he announced, as he drives his fans to donate directly to his GoFundMe campaign. DeCastro has shown in the past, when he buckles down and focuses on a fundraising goal, he can meet the goals he sets. However, the frantic days when he made $60,000 to various GoFundMe campaigns last year in a 3-month period don't seem to be repeating themselves this year. There's money to be made in the market, though, and people seem willing to donate if the goal is something they care about. YouTuber Clash with Bow has taken in $6,095 for the month, for example. While he's had a giant head start over DeCastro with his campaign running roughly 6 weeks, there's interest in his case as he's fighting a possibly illegal arrest out of the Boston area. He may actually go to jail if convicted, and he needs legal representation desperately. DeCastro, on the other hand, is arrogantly suing a pair of judges after being told that it's almost impossible to sue a judge. He's asking for nearly $69 million because he says he was searched to see if he was live streaming illegally before a hearing, and his buddies weren't allowed in the courtroom for another hearing, even though they for sure got there 10 minutes early. While he's filed the lawsuit for real, he needs the rest of your hard-earned money because his love affair with ChatGPT is over, and he needs to switch to Westlaw AI, which isn't actually an AI, but you need to give him your money anyway, y'all, because somebody has to. We suspect that he'll eventually make his goal, or he'll get $3,000 in GoFundMe money and declare that he's reached his goal through other means. But if his nearly 7-hour effort for $350 indicates anything, it's that he probably won't make it this particular week. We'll be monitoring DeCastro's crowdsourcing efforts as his quest for justice continues. In what could only be described as a tragedy of our times, Jose Chili DeCastro fought internet problems to attempt to live stream multiple times to his most ardent fans Monday night in his traditional celebration of himself as the rest of the country celebrated the Memorial Day holiday. This was his hardest failure since demanding his fans brigade the Genesee County Sheriff's Department of improprieties as they helped a boy perform a proposal last week on his YouTube community page. With feigned outrage, as he seemed to indicate that the police were forcing young women into unwanted dates as part of the yearly program. Monday night, DeCastro seemed to be broadcasting at dial-up speeds at times, offering confusion as to why his internet, which was solid for nearly 7 hours the night before, couldn't handle a streaming load from the YouTuber on a major Chili DeCastro celebration of himself. The diminutive YouTuber's problems started early, as his first stream, starting a little after 9 p.m. Eastern Time, was plagued with video stuttering. "Moon to Earth, can you hear me, Moon?" he questioned, as his viewers began to complain about the quality of his production. Instead of ending his stream and troubleshooting offline, he immediately called his guy for help and started a troubleshooting session on air. Lowering his bitrate seemed to help, at least at first, but soon reverted to a choppy mess, which degraded the experience of his fans. Ignoring his internet issues, the cash-strapped DeCastro went into an extended rant about giving away 25 trifolds on Sunday. He justified eating the cost of shipping and further devaluing his product because he had to educate the people with the only product that seems to be keeping his operation afloat. It was a questionable move at best, as DeCastro is openly seeking $150,000 in financing to fund the production of his upcoming Constitution Headquarters board game, based on his years of experience and sound business practices. Later, DeCastro turned his attention to a video featuring police interacting with scantily clad, underage children on the beach who were suspected of drinking. The YouTuber launched into an attack on the police as he felt it was a waste of resources to hassle children who were engaged in underage drinking. Strangely, he followed the video with an extended rant about Texas, making it more difficult for users to access porn online. He said that when he wanted to access adult material, he'd never share his identification with a website to prove his age before he accidentally ended the stream. His second stream began with more tech support from his guy as he continued to experiment with bit rates. That live stream went a little over 10 minutes before he purposely ended the stream to lower the bitrate further. DeCastro's third attempt was again plagued by further unintentional interruptions as he cleaned up apparent misstatements from the previous streams. He openly denied being pro-driving while under the influence and anti-President Trump, then briefly thanked veterans for their service on the day devoted to the fallen. That third stream was then dominated by DeCastro's claims that he had never been fooled by any sort of hater, and that he always knows what is fake. He said he was obligated to extend his stream for as long as possible, as people super chatted and paid for his time, before another extended pause and another call to customer service for his internet provider. DeCastro then demanded a month's free service from the customer service agent, who offered him a single night's credit instead. He scoffed at the offer, lying that he had the same issue the day before during his 7-hour live stream, later complaining to his remaining fans that he pays $250 a month for the internet service. At least his fans were still there for him financially on Monday, as his self-serving GoFundMe to raise funds for Westlaw Artificial Intelligence and his $69 million-ish lawsuit against 2 judges in Nevada brought in another $235 to his goal of $5,000 or $6,000. His total was seconded only by Clash with Bow's $10 take, as fans of everyone else were preoccupied with remembering the fallen on the patriotic holiday. DeCastro has now made $1,435 towards whatever goal he's decided on for the GoFundMe, and ever so much closer to the point where he declares the GoFundMe completed, as good friend Chevy gave him the rest of the money and crowdsourcing is for losers, yo. The YouTuber is expected to stream again on Tuesday after meeting with service technicians from his ISP. We need your help. Both ReallyCoolSite.org's daily newspaper and our daily newscasts are funded by your continuing donations and what we make from our YouTube AdSense revenue each month. If you'd like to contribute to help us keep the lights on, eating, feeding the cats, defending ourselves from lawsuit threats, and writing news stories to feature on both the newspaper and newscast each day, you can do so via a donation to our PayPal, Cash App, or GoFundMe accounts. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch our videos from beginning to end, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.